Good evening YouTube, John Booter here, and I'm going to be giving you a tutorial on how to set up an environment with Microsoft SQL Server on Windows Server. So we're going to use AWS and EC2 instance for this one, just because it's all inclusive, the licensing is kind of taken care of, and we're going to be using the SQL Server Express edition, which is, it's free, and you can use it in production as long as your database is not over 10 gigabytes. So I'm just going to kind of build it from scratch. So we're going to use a Server 2022 base. I'll go ahead and do the t2.large instance type. I've already got a key pair set up, so I'm going to just use that existing key pair. We will actually be setting it up as a web server, so I'll allow HTTP traffic from the internet. 30 gigs is okay for now, so we'll go ahead and launch that instance, which will create that. So Microsoft has got some tutorials which we'll kind of look at as we get into it on how to set up kind of the development environment for PHP. It uses some drivers that you have to add to your PHP directory, and then modify your PHP INI file. There was kind of some inconsistency that I found in that tutorial when I was following it, getting ready for the video, so I'll point that part out. I've got kind of my notes over here, which we'll get into a little more. The reason I'm just talking and waiting is we have to wait a few minutes after you launch an instance before you can actually connect to it with remote desktop. So let me see if it's ready for that yet. So we got our MS SQL tutorial. Go to connect, RDP client. Let's see if we can. Yeah, so we gotta wait at least 4 minutes. I think it's been a couple minutes now, so I'll go ahead and just pull up the tutorial about the development environment now, and we'll kind of look at that together. So the drivers for PHP for SQL Server is what we're going to end up downloading on that virtual machine once we can connect to it. Because of the whole bunch of DLL files, some of them are thread safe, some of them are non-thread safe. So when I worked through it before, instead of using IIS for the web server, which you can use IIS, I was kind of following an old tutorial with that, and some of it didn't apply, so I decided to use XAMPP, part of XAMPP, just Apache and the PHP. Because I've been pretty happy with the Apache web server. It seems to work just fine for me, so that's what I went with. I think there's benefits to be had with having it all inclusive. The web and database server, of course, you can separate it out if you need to. If you have a database server that it's existing, maybe holding a DB for another application that you're paying for every month, or existing stuff that's just there for archiving or whatever purposes you have, and you want to write a bit of a front end for it in PHP. You may want to just leave that server alone, set up remote connections to it, connect with PHP, and go from there. Let's see if it's been long enough to get the password here. Okay, I'll go ahead and upload my private key file here. That one there. Decrypt our password. So there's our password we're going to use to connect, and I'll blow away this instance once I get done with the tutorial, so don't try to use it. So I'll go ahead and edit my saved remote desktop connection as well. So we've got a 3.138.100.34 is the IP, and then I'll add the user account, which is going to be administrator with a capital A. Paste in that password there. Now I'll go ahead and connect. So bring this over here so we can see it together. Oop. Now I can go ahead and hide my beautiful face from you guys. So just waiting for this to load up here. It's the first time. Okay, I guess I should have shown my face for a little longer. It's the first time we're connecting to it, so it takes a minute. There we go. Now I'll hide my face. So it always pops up on the right hand side when you log into AWS, this network to go ahead and click yes. So the very first thing that I want to do is start installing SQL Server, the Express edition. So I'll just confirm, go through all the prompts, and then we'll just kind of go to google.com. SQL Server Express. So we're going to do SQL Server downloads, which is the top result as of today. And then under Express Edition, we'll get the SQL Server 2022 Express. So we've started that downloading. I'll click on Open File. And let that takes a minute to go ahead and... Okay. Maybe. Let me see if it's... I don't know if it took effect. Click on Open File here. And then at the same time, we'll go ahead and go to Google and we'll search for XAMPP. So this is ApacheFriends.org is that one. So it's a free and open source kind of a stack that you can install. So I'll do that. Cats are making noise here. So the one I'm going to download is XAMPP for Windows here. 8.2.12 is the version. Now you can just go ahead and install as a basic installation for SQL Server 2022. What that'll do is it'll give you an instance named SQL Express, which is fine. We just have to specify that in the connection string that we make. So we'll do the basic. It goes a little quicker. We'll go ahead and click accept. Regular location's fine. Click install. And meanwhile, we're also downloading XAMPP here. It's going a bit slow for some reason. I think their server may be a bit overloaded, but that's perfectly fine because we're doing some other things too. Okay, so we're now done installing the Express edition of SQL Server. Next thing I want to do is install SSMS, and then I'm going to restart the download for the XAMPP because it seems to be pulling it from a very slow server. So you can see 647 megs is just about done now for SSMS, but 150 megs is not going anywhere fast. So I'm going to stop that XAMPP download. And we'll go ahead and refresh the page and see if we can get it from somewhere better. And then SSMS is still thinking about itself there. Let's see. Okay. Let's see if I can just click here. Yeah, let's get this one here. Okay. Maybe. Oh, 3, 2, 1. Lift off. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Now it's done. All right. So I'm going to start SSMS installing first. It shouldn't really matter. With that one, just something to be wary of is you can click on it and it'll just do nothing for a solid like 10, 15 seconds. I don't know. A little while. And then it'll just launch the setup thing. So it also sometimes blends in because it's the same background color as this one. It's kind of annoying, but it's whatever. So we're waiting on that. I'll go ahead and click on open the XAMPP setup as well. I think we can do both at once. So user account control is set up, so it wants us to go in, either install it to program files. Oh no, it doesn't want us to avoid it. Okay, please avoid installing it to program files. And that's fine because it goes under C and then XAMPP, or we can deactivate UAC, but I think it should be fine. So we actually don't need MySQL. I'm going to skip the mail server, Tomcat, and all that stuff. I'm going to skip Perl, PHPMyAdmin, Webalizer, and Fink SendMail. Those may be things you want. Look into them and decide on your own, but I won't be setting those up. At a little bit later date, I'll probably make a tutorial about using some PHP packages to send email using the simple email service, SES, through Amazon, which is very useful. Okay, so that's where it puts it. C callback / XAMPP. English is fine. Okay, SSMS setup never actually launched, so I'm just going to go into downloads and open that. So I can close this now. There we go. SQL Server Management Studio 19. I just leave all the defaults. Just click install. Let it do its thing. Now that I'm thinking about it, there's one more thing I want to install. So I'm going to go back to Google here. And then we'll do VS Code. I'm just going to install Visual Studio Code as well. It's a good text editor. Very useful. That way you can just connect with remote desktop to your server and then just do everything you need to do. You can have VS Code set up to edit your PHP files. You can even do a little bit of syntax help and highlighting and stuff. Yeah, we can continue. It's not meant to be run as an administrator. This is kind of a server / workstation setup here. Yeah, we can add all the open with code options are good. Okay, so yeah, we can go ahead and start the XAMPP control panel. So we'll do that. So SSMS is still going there. Now we've got our control panel here. Put that down there where we can have it out of the way. So the only thing we really got going here is Apache. So we can go ahead and start it up. So we're listening on ports 80 and 443 here. So if we actually go to our browser and then we go to localhost. So this is going to be our dashboard, and we'll get into that very shortly. Okay, we don't. Yeah, I guess we can launch VS Code. That's fine. So, since we're going into VS Code, we'll go ahead and launch it here. I don't care about the themes really, so let's just open the folder that we want. So we'll go in our C drive, XAMPP, and then htdocs is kind of the root. There's index, but it points to the dashboard. That's kind of what we were just looking at. But what I'm going to do, there's various ways. I'm sure you can set up virtual hosts. I haven't done that in particular on this on Windows in Apache, but on Ubuntu you can set up virtual hosts to actually listen on different subdomains depending on your configuration. But on this one, I'm thinking we're going to set it up as kind of just an IP address, and with folders under that, subdirectories. Anyway, so we'll create it. We'll call it SQL Server. SQL Server is going to be our directory that we want to open up, and then here shortly we'll actually create some. Do I trust myself? I'm the author of all the files that will be in this folder. I don't know if I trust myself, but I'm going to click yes. Oh, you get a chuckle out of that. Alright, so almost done with SSMS. There's several configuration items that we'll need to do on that. But what we can do is actually go to the download link for the PHP SQL drivers. So we'll go paste that in here. So we're going to download it here. You can search for that too. This is the path if you want to pause the video and look at that, or I'll I'll try to remember to put it underneath the video and the details and stuff, the description. But this is straight from Microsoft. Anyway, so you open up the zip file, and we're going to go to Extract All under Compressed Folder Tools. We're going to browse. It's going to go on our C drive under XAMPP, PHP, ext. So these are all of our PHP extension files, and this is where we want it to go. So we'll select that folder, we'll press Extract. It's done. Now, the first kind of inconsistency that I found on their how-to, I think it was a little bit different. Let me just go to it and talk about it. What they told, dang it, where was it? No. Anyway, was it proof of concept? It might have been proof of concept. No. Configure development environment? I don't know. Somewhere there was something to do with pasting in the extension, and it had the .dll file. Well, it turns out, I don't know if it's an XAMPP inconsistency thing, maybe IIS is different, probably so, but in this case, following this tutorial, this is the exact string that we want. It's the SQL SRV underscore 82 underscore TS underscore X64 extension string. So I'll just copy that. So where that comes into play is, we'll close out of our tool there. Okay, SSMS is done, we'll close that. So if we go into our config and then our php.ini, partway down, which you can actually just Control F and type the word extension to kind of jump a few times. Just keep going down until you get to all the extensions. So dynamic extensions, that's the section we want to look for here. So we're going to kind of scroll down to the end and then paste in this. Make sure you don't have the semicolon in front of it. So what this points to, well, I closed the folder, but it's got a .dll extension on the end of it there. So it was getting confused. Had to look in the error logs to figure out why it wasn't actually loading that driver. Just make sure you paste it in that way, save, and then you're going to restart. So you're going to stop and then start your Apache web server service. Now, when we go to XAMPP, we can click on PHP info, and then if you do Control F, you can actually find the SQL Server. So this is the SQL Server extension, the driver that's been loaded, the PHP extension. Previously, with the error in that INI file, it wouldn't show up on PHP info. So this is a good thing. That means we're ready to start connecting to SQL Server with PHP. So next thing we'll do is launch SSMS. So I always like to make a desktop shortcut for it. It doesn't come with one. If you just right click on it and go to more and then open file location, it's already selected. We'll Control C, Control V. Now I've got a shortcut on the desktop. Nope. Now we'll open it up. So there's a few configuration changes we need to make. We need to create a user account, we need to create a database, a table. And then I have some sample code that we'll actually paste into some files and run them, and that'll be kind of our proof of concept of querying with just, a select statement. SQL Server database table from PHP on Windows, full stack. So first thing we'll do, we'll connect with Windows Authentication, just the default. Now, what we need to do is we need to right click on the actual instance up here. So it's the computer name / SQL Express, and go down to properties. And then under connections, under security, we want to allow SQL Server and Windows Authentication mode. So we'll go ahead and click OK on that. It won't take effect until the server service is restarted. So that's fine. We'll do everything else we need to do, and then we'll restart the service. Next thing we want to do is under security, we want to create a login. So I'm going to right click, go to new login. We want to use SQL Server Authentication. The login name is going to be TUT_user. Now this is important if you're going to copy and paste the sample code. If you want to substitute, you should actually substitute a much more secure password. I'm just typing the word password there. Make sure you uncheck enforce password policy there. And then we'll press OK. Now under databases, we're going to right click, we're going to go to new database. The database name is going to be tutorial. The owner, we can skip that and just press OK. Now tutorial, we're going to go under tables, we're going to make a new table. So first column name, we're going to call it ID. Data type, we'll say it's an integer. Now down here, if you scroll down a bit, there's identity specification. So you have to click on this little arrow to stretch that out, and then you can double click on this, change it from no to yes. So our increment is 1 and our seed is 1. That means it'll go up by 1 every time and it'll start at 1. Pretty straightforward. Next column we're going to do is called first name. That one's going to be a varchar 50. We're going to do last name. It is cap sensitive, of course, so make sure you decide on a convention for your caps and stick to it. Last column we want to do is favorite color. Also do varchar 50. We want to say we can allow nulls in the favorite color, but not in the first name and last name, just for this purposes. When we save the table, it's going to want a name. So we'll say this table is called people. We'll just do all lowercase. I've got a cat helping me now. Okay, so now once I've created the table, I'm going to refresh. And once I expand under here, I see the table. Now I can right click and go to edit top 200 rows. That's just a quick and easy way of getting data in there. So I'm going to put my name in. I'll say my favorite color is black. And then we'll say my son George Booter, we'll say his favorite color is red. When you press enter, it saves it into the database. Now, when we right click again, select top 1000 rows, we're going to see those two pieces of data we just punched in. Now comes the fun part. So we'll minimize this. Let me just make this a bit smaller so we can kind of see that. Let me move the cat so I can see the monitor. Okay. So what we want to do is in VS Code, we've opened the file, the folder. So we want to create a new file. You can click this one. First thing we want to do is call our, create our database connection file. We'll call it db.php. So I've got an example over here. I'm just going to paste in from my computer into this one. So server name is going to be localhost / SQL Express. Now, if your server was separate from your computer you were accessing it from, your web server, you would have to indicate that there. Since it's localhost, we're just doing it all on the same machine. That's why it says that. If you have SQL Server installed as a server named install rather than an instance named install, you would just type the server name there and then your database. But since we're doing the instance one, that's the default. If you just kind of do that Express Edition quick install without changing any options, this is the way it'll work. So we'll go ahead and save that. Control S to save that. Next thing I like to do is put all my query code into different files. For select queries, I always just call it query select.php. So I've got another example code here. Show people is the function that we're going to paste in there. So we're going to require db.php, which we just did. We're going to select our ID, first name, last name, and favorite color from our people table. Now, all we're going to do, it's very very low tech as far as the generating the HTML here. We're going to echo a number sign and then the data from the ID row. Well, row is an array. ID is the field that we're pulling for that particular record. And then the first name, the last name, favorite color, and then we're going to do a line break. So that's that code in a nutshell. So we'll save that. Last thing we need to do is create one that's just going to be called index.php. And then I'll just make it pretty straightforward. We're going to require query select.php, and then we're going to call the function show people. And then we're going to do our closing tag. So now we've got 3 PHP files. They're all in that folder called, that directory called SQL Server, which is in our XAMPP HT docs. And if we go to localhost, we'll take out the dashboard part. We will see, maybe, oh, I'm sorry. We'll go to localhost / SQL Server. So, login failed for user to user. Remember when I said we'd restart the service after we did all the other stuff? I forgot. So we'll go and click the Start menu. We'll remember how to spell the word services. We'll open up the services app here. We'll scroll down to SQL Server, SQL Express. We'll click on Restart the Service. So what happened is the TUT user worked, but it didn't accept SQL Server login as well as Windows login. Okay, now we've got another problem. So I did actually forget to give permissions on that database to TUT user. So we'll go under security. So make sure you're under the tutorial database, and then under security and users, we'll add, dang it, I guess we'll have to add him. Okay, yeah, we'll have to add TUT user. Okay, so TUT user, and then he should be in there. TUT user. Yeah, he's already there, so you can just type it in, and then on securables. You know what? There's an easier way to do that. That's what I don't know why I did it that way. So if you go under the actual user, and go to properties, you can go to securable, no, user mapping, that's where it is. Okay, user mapping, and then on the tutorial database you can give him, we'll just give him data reader, so he can just run select queries. Now let's go refresh that page again there. Okay, so now we've given TUT user data reader permissions on the database. This is what we get. So we've got John Buter black, George Buter red, and now if we add more rows, we'll just say we want to edit top. Go to the table. We'll go to edit top 200 rows. We'll click in the new line. We don't have to put the ID number since it's an identity specification. It'll automatically increment. We'll say that Riley Buter's favorite color is green. We'll press enter, go back to our page, refresh it, and now we have it. So we've got our ID, first name, last name, and then we've got our favorite color. Now we've got localhost / SQL Server. Now what about if we want to access this from outside the local server, which I'm sure we do, or we wouldn't go to all this trouble. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you guys want to have one where it's just you have to remote desktop in and it's just self-contained and all that, but let's just say if we wanted it to be, you know, a public web server, let's set it up that way. So let me just maximize this, and then we'll switch back over to our instance here. Now we're going to go to the security tab. So we've already got, okay, let's see, yeah, we've already got port 80 on there. So we probably don't need the security tab. Let's just go copy the public IPv4 address. We'll paste that in a new tab and see what we get. Is it trying to do HTTPS? Something's happening here. We may have to open up the firewall. I didn't quite get this far in my testing setup for the video, so this is somewhat uncharted territory, but yes, we're running, okay. Security 80 is open to the world, so let's just open our security group. So yeah, HTTP is open to anybody, so that's fine, that's what we want. Yeah, let's switch back over to our server itself, and then we'll check on Windows Firewall. So Windows Defender Firewall. advanced settings, and then inbound rules, new rule. We'll say port 80, allow the connection, all the networks, web server. We'll finish, and then we'll go refresh the page here. Okay, good. So now this is where we get if we go directly to this here. But what we probably want to do is access the stuff we just set up. So SQL Server. So that's fine, but I mean it's a bit of a path. We may not want to give people, you know, the IP address and the / path. So you can't actually just manipulate what's in the htdocs. So if we go into our XAMPP folder here, you can go in your htdocs. So all we've got is an index file. If we just open that with code real quick, it just kind of does some things with PHP. Basically, it redirects the header, the location to dashboard. We could just change that to SQL Server, and then just save that. That way we can just go straight to the IP address. Maybe. Yeah, it just redirects it. Another thing you could do is just kind of move all that stuff. In fact, I'm going to do that. I'm just going to move all that stuff. So I'm going to close the folder, and then we'll just highlight all this. And then we'll go in, we'll cut, and then we'll go straight into htdocs. We will replace index.php, that's fine. And that way, instead of redirecting, when we go straight to the IP address, we just see our files. And then in VS Code, we can just open htdocs under XAMPP. And then, okay, there it is. I was blind for a second there. So yeah, htdocs, and then we've got our files, and then we've kind of got some of the other stuff too. This one comes with a fave icon, so you can kind of see it's got that XAMPP. You can also change it to your own favicon. That's more on the web development side. You should probably find tutorials that tell you a little more about that. This was kind of just going into setting up the database environment and all that. So anyway, yeah, it's been just under 40 minutes, but probably less than that because I'll fast forward through some of the stuff. So let me know in the comments what you liked and didn't like, and yeah, we'll see what else we can do as far as tutorials. So thanks for watching. Bye.